Bizarre, bizarro, bizarro, genius baby. Bizarre, bizarro, bizarro, genius baby.
Hey there guys, it's Schwim again, and in this episode we are going to learn how to run and manage our FiveM server or anything using Screen in Linux, and how to log that output so you can view it later using T. I showed you in the last video how to set up your FiveM server and get it running, and if you did that and then closed that window, you'd find that as soon as the terminal window was closed, your server would shut down. The server doesn't like to operate unless there's a living connection. So where closing the window would normally shut down your server, to enable you to keep that server up and running for as long as you want, we're going to use a command called screen, and we're also going to log that run data so we can always go back and see, check for errors on the server side, because normally unless you're looking at the terminal window watching the server run, there's really not much of a way for you to capture errors on the server side. Client side you get F8, server side you get diddly. So we're going to fix that. So the first thing you've got to do is you've got to connect to your server through the terminal. So we're going to do that just like we did yesterday. This time I'll go ahead and connect to one of my live servers so you can kind of see the whole process. So on Linux it's SSH and then your username and then your server IP address or domain name, whatever you use. So once you do that, it'll ask you for your password. You enter your password and you are connected to the remote server. That's all you have to do. So we're in here and you are in your home directory like I talked about in the last video. As a normal user, you don't have any of the super user privileges, and that may matter to you right now. If you're logging in with the user root, you are the super user, so you can do anything. You can delete everything on your server and make it completely unusable. You can install programs, remove programs, make modifications in the system, files and folders. And as a normal user, to protect against that kind of anarchy, you don't get those privileges. You can use the command su if your server is set up to allow your user super user privileges. You can use the command su and then space and then do that command that would normally be relegated only to the super user. But I've noticed that most people just stick with root. It's not what you should do, but it's what most people do. If you're the root user, you can run this command without the su command. If you're a normal user, you have to put su in front of it. But all you want to do to make sure Screen is installed is run the install command for your server. If you're running a Debian or a Ubuntu server, it's apt-get or just apt. Fedora has yum. There's just, it depends on what operating system you're using, but for Debian it's just apt-get or apt-get install Screen. And what's going to happen is it will check to see if it's already installed. If it's already installed, it tells you. If it's not installed yet, then you want to click the yes to install it. And I should say something before this. Before you run the install command, you should always update your repositories. So to update the repos, it's apt-get update. And that will go ahead and run all of the update processes to make sure you're mirroring the most current applications. So apt-get update, which you should always run right before installing or upgrading anything. And then apt-get space install space screen, SCREEN. All right, once you've done that, you are ready to roll. And I'm going to show you the different things you can do with screen and T, and we'll go ahead and get that, get your server up and running with that. So we're going to, since you know this is the first time you've ever run screen, you don't need to check for a session to resume. So we'll go through that later. So being the first time, you're just going to type screen, and that's it. It tells you that it's up and running. So it tells you what it's capable of doing. Just like almost anything in Linux, the man documentation and stuff is built for people who don't need it. It's written in a way that only the most neck-bearded of nerds can understand it, and it does you no good. So the documentation is useless for most of this stuff, but you can find out anything you need just searching on the web. It'll be written by normal users. It'll be easier to understand. This stuff is just a little frustrating. So hit return. Now, it doesn't look different, but what you're looking at right now is a session inside screen. So picture screen as terminal windows that live on even after you disconnect from the server and allow you to reattach at a later date and just pick up where you left off. It's like you were never disconnected. Okay, so we are in the first screen, and you can have multiple screens per session, and that's going to be important to us. I'll show you how to get through those. So what we're going to do is we're going to look where we're at, and I know that I need to get to FiveM main and then server data, because that's where my server resides on this server. So if I do a listing, I can that my resources is here, server.cfg is here. So we're going to go ahead and start the server, and so we'll get that running. And now here's where logging comes into play. Logging is done with T, T-E-E. It allows the output of any screen to be logged to a file, and it allows you to see stuff that occurred on screen while you were gone. So if an error occurred server side, in our case, it's useful for a ton of stuff, but for FiveM, if an error occurred that got spit out to server, you can always go back and find those errors. So MySQL errors, the dreaded nil value, stuff like that, you can go back and see. So what you need to do is you're going to combine two commands, and we're going to do that with something called a pipe. And the pipe is usually the shifted key right below your backspace, and it looks like a huge, really long I, or lowercase l, but it's called a pipe. It's the shifted part of the backslash key. So that pipe is telling Linux that this next command is working with data from the first command. So it's kind of like chaining them together. So if you do this, t run.log, So what I've done is I've told it to go ahead and, I need to fix this because this is inside server. All right, so I've told it to go ahead and start my server and then secondarily log the data from the server into a file called run.log. And also what you can do, if you plan on keeping that log to just get bigger and bigger and never overwrite anything, you can use the flag A append. So it will, instead of overwriting the file, it will go ahead and just start writing to the bottom of the file, never overwriting anything, allowing the file to get larger and larger. Since I don't really need that, I don't use it, keeps it from getting too large. So if we do this and we've started it, and you can see it kind of go through, start everything up, and I'm done. The server's running. I don't need to be in this window anymore, but I'm going to show you something else with screen that you can do. So you have control operations for screen, and there's different things you can do while in the screen session. So what we're going to do first is we are going to create a new terminal window inside screen. So it's going to have more than one window, and I'm going to do that by holding down Control and A at the same time and then hitting C. So C is the command for creating. Anything inside screen has to be, the commands inside screen have to be started with holding down Control and A at the same time. You can then let go of Control and A and hit the next key, but the Control and the A has to be done at the same time. So once you've done that, Control A, let go, C, you end up with a new terminal window inside that screen session. So in this one, just as an example, we're going to go ahead and start the top command. Okay, the top command is the command in Linux used for checking which processes are running the most resources, requiring the most resources. Lets you watch the load averages, lets you see the uptimes of your server and stuff. But we're going to do that just so you have a couple different sessions, and we'll do that a third time. We'll hit Control A, C, and we'll end up with a third terminal. And for this one, we're just not going to do anything with it yet. We're just going to check where we've started at and say we were wanting to edit a file, or we can check out our log file. Okay, so if we look here, you can see I've got the run.log. This is in the first screen of this screen session. I started the server and told it to pipe it to the run.log. So in this one, we'll just check it out. And we're going to use the log or the nano editor that I told you about in the last video. So we're going to go ahead and open it, and you can see this is everything that got printed to screen and is still being printed to screen in the first screen of this session. So it lets me go back and look. I can check to see if there's any errors. It's just super easy for you to go back and kind of take into account or find out what's causing an issue. So if we wanted to rotate through these screens now, so I'm at the third screen. We know how to start a screen session, just screen with nothing. Once we're inside it, we know we can create new screen sessions or screen elements inside this session with the Control A and then C. But now that we're in here, we're going to hit Control A and then in. In is in November. And what that did was it's called next. So it knows to rotate through into the next screen. So here we are back at the server. And you can see that what we were looking at in the log file literally was what's on screen. So you've got your first screen here running the server. We're going to hit Control A in. Your second screen is still running top, and we'll continue running. And then Control A in a third time. We're back at Nano. So you're running 3 different screens successfully at the same time. They're always open. Keep that in mind. If you decide to leave the shell, it's going to keep running. The screen doesn't let anything die. And that's how you can manage to run a FiveM server regardless of whether you have a spotty internet connection and your session dies and you get disconnected from your game server in the terminal. Allows everything to run whether you're there or not. So we're going to go ahead and close this Nano because we know we don't need to edit this. So we're going to hit Control X, and since we didn't make any edits to the file, it just dropped me back into terminal. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and close this. So we are completely disconnected from the game server, and you can connect to your game server like nothing's ever changed. And we'll go ahead and take a moment real quick to start a client session so we can see that the run.log file changed. So if I go FiveM, we'll connect. All right. So we're letting that happen. I'm going to go ahead and open the terminal window again, and we're going to learn how to reconnect to a screen session. All right. So we have to shell back into the server. So it's the same as before. All right, we're back into the remote server, the game server, and what you want to do now, you can see there's none of the content that you were looking at before because you're not attached to screen, okay? So that screen session is still running, you just need to reattach to it. So if there's only one screen session, and I don't mean the screens you put inside your session. So you had 3 screen windows running inside that session you created. What I mean is separate screen sessions. So you can run as many screen windows inside a session as you want, and you can run as many screen sessions as you want. So you can have multiple screen sessions running multiple screen windows. For the most part, you'll never need that. You can operate with just one session. So if that's the case and you've only got one session, you would use screen -R for reattach or resume. Okay, so if we do that, it actually shows that I've got more than one running. So I didn't kill my old one. So if I look at this, it asks me which one I want to resume. Okay, so if I run 2, 6, 9, 8, 8, you can see that I'm back in the one I created. So that allows you to resume multiple screen sessions. But if you're only running one, then it doesn't matter. So we hit Control A in. You can see that while we were gone, user Schwim connected to the game server. Control A in again. There's the top that was running. Okay, Control A in again. And this was where our run.log had been opened up. So we're going to go ahead and open up that log again. Okay, we scroll down, go to the end of the file, and you can see that while we were gone, the T command kept on printing to that log file. So there's my user schwim connecting. So Control X. So we're going to go ahead and hop out of that and then close it. And I'm going to show you how to kill screen sessions. Okay, so schwim. All right. So you're connected to it. We've got multiple screen sessions. We realize we do not need multiple screen sessions. So we're going to go ahead and screen R. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to hop into one of these that you want to kill. The ones at the top are always the latest screen sessions you started. And you can even see that by the not just the size of the number, which is the PID, the ID, process ID, but also the start date. And you can see it just bumps up the latest to the top. Okay, so let's say we want to go into the oldest one. So we're going to use screen dash R 13444. And I am in an old session. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and Control A K, okay, for kill. We're inside screen. Control and A is at the same time, and then K. Hit yes. That has been terminated. Okay, so we're going to now we should only have one screen session. All right, so I'm going to go in. Shouldn't need to put in a PID because it's the only screen session left. And you can see once again, there's my nano file I had opened to show you the run.log being appended to. We're going to go ahead and kill that. Control A and then in gets me over back into the server. We'll hit Control C and kill that server. So it's dead now. It's not running anymore. Control C killed the process. Control A in is top. So top's still running. So we're going to go ahead and now Control A, K. You really want to kill this window? Yes. So it says window 1 killed. All right. So we are back where we need to be. We're going to go ahead and kill that. Control A, K. Yes. All right. Screen is terminating. So we've killed all the little windows in that session. If we look now, we can see when we try to resume a screen, there's no screen to be resumed. All right. So your server's not running. Top doesn't exist anymore. The nano window's closed. If you want to start it again, screen tells you to hit return. And then what we can do is just start your server like you normally would. Okay. And go ahead and pipe t run.log. All right, your server's running. You don't need to do anything else. Close that window, go about your business, and reconnect at any time you want. And that's it. That's all you got to do. Hit me up with any questions you might have in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.